class. Welcome to the lecture, Getting Started with the Quiz Project. I think that this short lecture will get you off on the right foot as we discover how to do this project, which is worth 15% of your course grade. And the final is due on November 11th. There is a draft due before that, as we'll discuss later in this presentation. All of the materials I'm going to show you are available for your review in the assignments folder on the course home page. So you just click on the assignments folder and go into the quiz creation project, and you'll see these instructions and grading scale. But to go over them now, your assignment is to create a 10-question test appropriate for use with a unit in your classroom. Now, if you teach preschool and you've got non-readers, obviously you're not going to create it for your classroom because this is a test or a quiz for students who read. So you're going to have to create an imaginary classroom. Remember that a unit is typically 3 to 5 weeks of material. And so what you're going to do is create a quiz or test of mostly selected response, that is multiple choice, binary, true, false, matching, or simple constructive response items. You can work with a partner on this assignment. If you choose that option, make sure to put both your names on the assignment, and then instead of 10 items or questions, you have to do 15. Whether you choose 10 or 15, you're also going to submit the solutions for those items. Now, the project includes several components. First, you should write a brief description of the unit on which the assessment would be based. This is just a paragraph that gives an overview of what grade level you would be using the quiz in, the type of class. Is it a mainstream class? Is it a learning, a gifted class? Is it a learning disabled class? And any resources that the students would have been exposed to. It's important to tie it into one of the standards that's in the standard folder on our course homepage. It could be a New York State standard, it could be a Common Core standard, it could even be a Next Generation Science standard. I don't want a lot of learning targets, but I do want 1 or 2 learning targets that are assessed. So you must be able to say that these items are aligned with this learning target. And if you get too many, if you try to do 5 or 6, you're going to be all over the map. So stick to 1 or 2 learning targets that you're going to come up with that you tie into the standards, and they're broad enough for the unit and clear and measurable. So if you choose a Next Generation Science standards, you might have 1 or 2 learning targets that tear off a piece of that and are as specific and measurable. Remember that learning targets are stated students will be able to, and then and they're specific. The 10 or the 15 items with their solutions must be given. Now here's something that's very important. For 9 out of the 10 questions, you should have selected response items. So 9 out of the 10 questions should be multiple choice or true, false, or matching with the solutions. Ignore that completion there, that's confusing, but it should be multiple choice, true, false, or matching, and written at various levels. So a knowledge question maybe, and a comprehension or analysis question. The 10th item should be a constructive response, that is a short answer or an essay. So 9 selective responses and 1 constructive response. If you're doing 15 items with another person, 13 should be selective responses and 2 should be constructive responses. And then another important component is, after you've given the quiz, a rationale for choosing the types of items you selected based on best practices. So for example, why did you choose multiple choice for a particular item, or true, false? Why did you choose essay for a particular item? So think about these in terms of how complex the question is, what they are asking for. If you can find justification in your textbook for why you use one or the other, and you can include a citation, that's wonderful. Some strategies for success. People think this is an easy project, and it's not. It's deceptively easy because it's difficult to write good items. What you have to do is start by looking at the standards. So look at the standards and pick one out that appeals to you. Write 1 or 2 learning targets that would go along with those standards. Remember, a learning target doesn't have to measure the entire standard, but just it can break off a little piece of it. And then decide how would you write a quiz to assess those learning targets. Use general best practices. So for example, good layout, directions, and all of those good things that were discussed in the chapters you read, in the lectures that I gave, and also there's a tip sheet that's in the folder that is in the assignments folder that you can look at. It was actually given in one of the modules. Make sure you read that or review that tip sheet because that's a good guide to how to set up your quiz. Take your test. Sometimes you find errors by doing this, and then have someone else read over it and take it. If you can get a child to take it, that's the age of the child that you want to give it to, even better. Don't wait until the last minute. It takes time to create a good test, and particularly when you're doing your first couple, it takes a lot of time. So don't think, oh, I'm just going to do this the last day and turn it in. I don't think you'll be happy with your grade if you do that. As always, ask questions. So the way we're going to do this is you're going to share your test with your peers, your draft, and that'll be posted to a discussion post on Sunday, November 4th. You'll look at others and you'll provide feedback in the form of a discussion post response. And your feedback should be critical. It shouldn't just be, good job, I like how you did that. Really try to think of how you can help your peers improve their grade, their product, their test. And so if I just see good job from your post, I'm probably not going to give you as high a discussion post grade as if I see someone who's actually trying to be helpful in a positive way. So I really like how you did this, and have you considered if you reword it this way, it might be clearer, something along those lines. So as I said, your draft is due on November 4th, posted to a discussion board. Provide feedback, and your final project, after you look at your feedback and make revisions, is due by midnight on Sunday, November 11th. In the folder, in the assignments folder, you'll also see the grading scale. I always tell students to have the grading scale out and in front of them as they're doing their assignment. And that way they can just check off and see how I might look at it when I grade it. Some important components of this grading scale are your draft and whether it's showing strong effort, whether you're giving feedback that's positive and helpful to your peers, that you've got it tied into standards, that you've got it's clear and well written, that your objectives or learning targets are all measurable, accessible, specific, and then finally the test items follow best practices as in the lectures and in the text and in the tip sheet. Layout is important. Everything should be clear, lined up, appropriate size font. And finally, well-supported rationale. So your textbook is really very good at giving you reasons to choose certain types of items. So for example, if you have a deep, complex topic that you're trying to measure, you might not be able to do that well with a multiple choice. But if you have an essay and choose that particular thing for your essay, you might be able to find better justification for that. As always, if you have any questions, don't feel scared to email me or contact me. I'd rather you do that ahead of time than have to go back and worry about your grade after you didn't understand an assignment. All right, have a great week.